Hey, so here's something a lot of people don't realize about the schedule of these things that children get. So in the 80s, the manufacturers of the products that were given to children to prevent certain diseases, those companies went to the government and said, we're not going to make these anymore because they're inherently dangerous and there's too much liability, and we're just not going to make these anymore unless you waive liability. And if you waive liability, we'll make them. So the government did. The government said, okay, we'll waive liability. And what they did was they created a situation where the manufacturer makes a product that they have no liability for any injury that may occur or death that may occur from said product. Instead, what happens is there's a tax built into the price of the product, and a small amount of money goes into a kitty. And if your child is injured or dies after receiving that product, then you can submit a claim to this particular fund, and they may or may not pay you some money. But that money, again, doesn't come from the manufacturers. It comes from the taxpayers who pay a tax on the products, or the insurance companies pay the tax on the products when they're administered. So what happened today was the government decided to add the new, brand new technology, never been used before, all kinds of red flags popping up all over. They decided to add that to the childhood schedule, because once it's on the childhood schedule, there's no liability. So they've gone from no liability for the emergency situation, and now they'll go to no liability for the approved situation. Keep in mind that the government isn't the one doing the safety testing. The safety testing is done by the manufacturer. So they get to run all kinds of experiments, and they don't send the bad experiment data to the committees. They only send the data from the experiment that they were able to tweak enough to develop a safety signal. So it's a little, and I mean by a little, I mean a whole freaking lot, concerning that these new class of products that have all kinds of red flags and no long-term studies to show what kind of damage to the recipient and potentially to the offspring of the recipient. These data don't exist. There hasn't been enough time. But now it's on the childhood schedule, or it will be as of tomorrow. They're voting on what exactly that's going to look like. And so schools will be able to require it. Hopefully there'll be some ways for people to get out of it, but it's really disappointing. So there's your lesson for the day. I'm going to pour a glass of wine.